Hey, listeners and viewers, welcome back to the CitizenWolf audio podcast. It is me, CitizenWolf. Thank you so much for returning to this humble podcast about art and all good things related to that. Before we start, thank you so much, everyone, for the very kind feedback you guys gave me on Twitter and emails and things like that. First podcast I did in a very long time. It was a bit rusty, rambled a bit too long, and I did try my best to take my feedback on board and for future episodes and try and improve and all that stuff. But one thing I've managed to do, I managed to get a guest on. I've got Tenenbris, or Tennis as he likes to be known. What's the best nickname to go by? Tennis?
People just, I think 10 is best, actually.
10. Where did that name come from then? Give me a bit of an introduction on that. I think J-Dash mentioned it once, but I can't remember what he said, to be brutally honest with you.
Well, I mean, to be honest, like, people think that it's like a smart name or something, but honestly, it's like the dumbest name in the world. Because I basically got it from a character in BioShock called Tenenbaum or something like that.
Oh, I see. Oh, the scientist character. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. I think you meet her, like, you have her in your radio thing or whatever, like, very early in the game, and I thought that sounded really cool. So, but I added breeze at the end, which is like the Norwegian word for breeze. Just because I thought that would be cool to have, like, you know, that thing. It sounded cool. Tenenbris. I don't know. I thought it sounded cool at the time. But turns out there's actually like an artistic movement called Tenenbrism, or Tenebrism, which is, I mean, you can just Google TENE. BRISEIM or something like that. It'll probably autocomplete for you, and it's strangely similar to the way I make art. It's very dark. It's lots of negative space in the pictures and stuff like that. It's like Renaissance paintings.
So it's more to it than just like naming it after the character. Then you did think a little bit more about why you came to that name. So
I mean, when I was like, when people brought that to my attention, I was like, I intended to do that, but I've since confessed to that. I've since confessed completely honestly that I did not know at all what that was. I just thought it sounded cool. So it's actually a huge coincidence.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would never have guessed that. Really, I thought that there was something behind the name. I just wasn't sure what it was, but I never would have guessed that. To be fair, brilliant game that is BioShock. When that came out about 15 years ago now. The original 2006 or 7 was it? I can't remember now.
Yeah, I think it was like new when I was in like middle school, so like 2007, 2008, around there.
Yeah, brilliant.
Maybe even earlier, 2006 maybe. It was on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, so that generation, I think.
Yeah, I had it on the 360. Did you have it on the PlayStation or the 360 as well?
I did actually have I only got PlayStation 3 because my father had read that all the Xbox 360s would just break easily, which was partially true.
Well, yeah, partially true, but the downside with PS3 is, like, I think it had like less RAM or something, and which some games didn't work properly on that, so it had Pick Your Poison, I think it was.
Also a fucking miserable controller.
I don't know. The DualShock 3 is a decent. Well, it's an okay controller. It's not my favorite.
It was just so tiny for my hands. Like, they worked for like the first year I had it, but then, you know, I started growing and all of a sudden I got fucking monkey hands, and I can like touch my fingers together over the over the keys on the back. So it's like,
the shoulder buttons, right?
Yeah, shoulder buttons. That's what they're called. That's gonna happen a lot. Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Well, I've got stupidly small hands, so like I didn't really have that issue. But you know, that's the opposite. That's the opposite end of the scale, I suppose. For me, I got stupidly tiny hands. I'm not going. I can't actually demonstrate this because this is an audio medium. But unless I did like a video version, I could do, I suppose, like I did like a few episodes ago. I'll think about it, okay? But anyway, but yeah, rambling one second. Thank you so much, Tennis, for coming on. By the way, this is literally 2 or 3 days, literally after recorded episode 3, the first episode I've done in a very long time. Basically, that was sort of to test the waters, whether people would be interested. I wasn't entirely sure about that, but after the feedback I got, people seemed to be interested, and enjoyed listening to me just rambling for 45 minutes. That's literally what it was, talking about art and my experiences and stuff. So I'm thrilled to have actually have another guest on board, and I will try and get more people on board and stuff. And so yeah, this is definitely worth pursuing, and I'm thrilled to have Tennis on board. So thank you very much for coming on so short notice. It's literally 3 days after that one, so it's pretty crazy. Out of your really busy schedule, I'm pretty sure, busy doing other more important things instead of listening to me ramble for 2 hours anyway.
I mean, I make time for stuff like this. I think stuff like this is fun, and it's always nice to try to help out your friends. Because I think like podcast things, there's a lot of people that need to push the ball for it to actually go anywhere at all, unless you've got like your dedicated guests, like usual guests. But if you're doing this all by yourself, you're going to need some help at least. And so I honestly, I just thought it would be fun.
Yeah, so you literally offered to come onto the show. I thought, like, oh well, I didn't think to ask you in the first place, because I thought I did think you'd be interested, to be quite frank with you. Let's talk to me for 2 hours. But so hopefully you guys find it entertaining to listen to, and I hope Tenenbris hopefully finds talking about some of his experiences interesting and enlightening and all that good stuff. So I will be interrogating him for the next 2 hours, so however long this is going to be, I don't know yet. I've got a bunch of questions, so hopefully you listeners out there will find it interesting. I'll try and make it interesting for Tenenbris anyway, listening to me anyway, so I've got to try and ease the pain in some way, I suppose. But there you go. So I think... let's start off with first things first, I suppose. Your origins. When did you first start making artwork? Was that a recent thing, or how have you been? When did you start not making art? Basically, that's the start off with that.
It kind of depends on how you define it. If you're talking just visual and like drawing, that's probably when I was 16 years old. And I'm 26 now, so for 10 years I've been drawing, basically.
A decade, then. Nice.
Yeah. But if you're talking like video, like films, stuff like that, I've actually made a lot of those. Before that, I more or less been interested in making films and stuff like that since I was probably younger than I remember, to be honest. My dad always had these video cameras, and I would always mess around with them. So I did go to film school, and that's when we started making these storyboards. And my teacher would say to me, "Wow, you're really quick with those things. You can make them, and you make them well, quickly." And then I don't know, I just started drawing more and more, and kind of a bummer. There was like a terrorist attack in Norway in 2011. Utøya. A lot of people. We don't have to go a lot into that, but that bummed me out a lot. So I went online looking for memes, and then I found the show, My Little Pony, and I watched that, and it was kind of uplifting. And then I decided to draw some of them, and that's just kind of that's where I started becoming more interested in drawing than just films and stuff like that.
So you pivoted to from when you decided to stop doing stuff with film, you decided to pivot to more digital art, basically. Or
one thing that's sure to happen to you if you go to film school is that you'll start hating movies. You'll start really at least that's the truth for me. I tried film school and I tried to become a journalist. I ended up hating both of those things.
That's unlucky.
But then again, like the drawing became... The problem with film and journalism is that it's also strict. You have to do what the audience expects you to do or what gets them to be interested in it. But with art, at least to some extent, there's no real limit on what you can do. I mean, you're pretty free to make whatever you want. And I mean, if people aren't going to like it or not, that's a different thing. But at least... I don't have to get a bunch of people together, have people write scripts or learn the scripts and stuff like that. It's a one-man operation, And with journalism, you have to go out, you you should actually have a couple of people with you, a photographer, yeah, people with recording things, and just so you look official. Coming up to like a place to interview people with just one guy with an edit roll microphone thing, you look kind of unprofessional, and people aren't going to take you seriously. So it's a one man operation basically, and I think that's what kind of drew me to it. Actually, no pun intended.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So it's sort of, it's a part of like of course, like that terrible event that happened, of course. Not going into that too deeply, of course, because it's still, the effects of that is still being felt today. Not just it's one of those awful things that happened. So did you decide to scout out the show not long after that, as a sort of coping mechanism, and then that's how your art became more intrinsically connected in some way, or?
I think it had to do with just wanting to sort of come back to something more familiar.
Right. Yeah.
Because like growing up in my school, it was like very little room for creativity. Like with my friends. Not like they were scolding me or something for being creative. It's just that I did not have creative friends. They were video gamers basically. And when I found this show, I was just like, I was gonna watch it, just have some fun with it, because it was well written and it was cheerful, and it was just the thing I needed to just kind of like get me out of this slump, because like everywhere I looked around me, people were fucking depressed.
Yeah.
So it was nice to just have something I could like distance myself off from that at the end of the night, and just relax a bit. And then I started noticing how creative this community was, how much people were making. And that was like sort of when the Tumblr Ask blog stuff was like beginning to pick up speed. And I was just like, I want to do that. That looks fun. People send me messages, and I have to come up with some sort of response to it that forwards the story in some way. That's a pretty nice creative exercise, I thought. So what the hell? I started drawing ponies, and it looked awful, but I kept going, and it's been snowballing and snowballing, and I think I've reached some point now where I can actually become closer to a professional kind of drawer. At least I got the stepping stones to do it now. I think so. Yeah.
So you basically got right in the beginning, around 2010, 11, when the show first started. Then that's like you were there right at the beginning, basically.
Yeah, basically. I've been here more or less since the start. I think I joined as the seasons were concluding. I think the episode 25, the one where Piggy's hair deflates and she becomes Pinky Mina, as we call her in the fandom, had just aired when I started watching.
Right. Yeah.
Because like 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, the Cupcakes fanfic was out. Well, no, actually, I think I'm getting it wrong, because the Cupcakes fanfic actually came out before that episode.
Oh,
you're
going to know more about that than me. You were there near the beginning. Like I joined very late in the game, but I'm just trying to think which episode How did I get involved with the show? When I first started, I started watching it probably 2013, maybe 2012. Not straight away, but a little bit after that, I suppose. I'm trying to remember. Like I think it must have been like a YouTube video or something. Like and then I sort of piqued my interest. I don't know why it made me decide to go in. Follow the show after that. You're just watching a simple video, but I don't know. Like it was a lightning in a bottle sort of thing. The show itself became. It sort of exceeded everyone's expectations, I suppose, and like everyone got involved with it in such a big way. I think
it was more reminiscence of the old cartoons that I grew up on than the ones that were kind of on the tail end of the age where like my own age, when I was actually still watching cartoons. I think I stopped watching cartoons and kind of switched to anime somewhere around 12 or 13 years old. And one of the reasons for that is just because I wasn't entertained by cartoons anymore, but I wasn't sure why, you know. And here along comes this show about some horses, and it's the fucking the script is clever, and like the animation is very pretty. And I don't know, it was just reminded me of an era gone by, so to speak. Not to sound like a boomer or something, but yeah, it's like, I don't know. It was like I think the CalArts art style was starting to pick up and stuff like that, and like all the animations were really, really stiff,
right?
You know,
yeah.
And I don't know. I think like whenever I think back to the cartoons that I really enjoyed when I was that young, it was like Teen Titans and I don't know what it's called. It's like it would call it Future Batman, or like in Norwegian that was what it's called. But I think it's like it's like this Batman cartoon where Batman has like some younger version of himself.
I think I know which one you're referring to, but I can't think what it's called now at the top of my head. I think I know which one you're on about.
Yeah, but it's the one with ink in it, anyways.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can't remember what the show's called though. It's going to annoy me, but I know which. I can picture it in my head.
Yeah. It's just called Future Batman in Norwegian, but that was what it was. I think that was like the end, and then for whatever reason, I don't know. I just the cartoon of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic just kind of reminded me of that. But the thing that really got me interested in it was the fandom, I think. Because of like there was like this old animation where Celestia asks Luna if she likes bananas and sends her to the moon. You know, all of those like ancient brony memes.
Oh yeah. That's going way back, like the early days of it. Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah, I think that was actually what like if it weren't for the fandom, I would have watched season 1, maybe season 2, and then forgotten about it. So I think the community is a big reason why I stayed or even started to draw to begin with.
It's like even though like it's like, oh, this is a show for girls, you still thought, oh, I'll at least I'll give it a try. Sort of. Did you ever used to like get teased for that sort of thing?
No, people don't really dare to tease me about stuff. It's like, I don't know. It's always been called an intimidating person. So
intimidating presence. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, I got that perk when I started.
you leveled up your stats.
Yeah, I mean, like, people wanted to tease me about it, but it wasn't really a thing. But there's also the fact that, you know, typically with like girls show, it's not that well written. You know, it's typically the ones that are specifically targeted towards girls or boys are all like pretty shitty written.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like it's like there's like a very clear focus on one thing with the boys shows, and there's a very clear focus on with the girls shows, and that's stupid. it becomes dumb almost. But the ones that kind of transcend both genders and sort of appeal to both are the ones that are actually good. And I think that's what they were successful with making at least the first 2 seasons of My Little Pony.
Yeah, it's I think it sort of struck a chord with a lot of people because like it gave the impression that the people making it actually gave a damn and actually wanted to make something decent. I think that was the general, as opposed to just be a vehicle just for selling toys. It still is. Don't get me wrong. It still is mainly a vehicle for selling toys. But like at least the animations and the people behind it like care about actually want to put some decent stuff out there basically. And so with season 1 and 2, you thought that maybe the show wasn't as good after season 2? Did it decline in your view? Did it?
I just figured that the season 3 it kind of. It was like very compressed, and all the characters felt a lot more concentrated in a way. And I think that kind of lost all the nuance and the actual charm the show actually had to begin with. I think the last good episode was probably season 4, 1 and 2. They were okay. But honestly, I haven't seen any more after that. So
You
yeah,
you stopped after season 4, basically.
yeah, I just it kind of became a chore to watch it, and then I just stopped because I have enough chores as it is, so I'm not gonna, you know, watch a show that I'm not interested in.
Yeah, that's interesting. But like, even though the show sort of declined in your view, you decided to still stick around making artwork a part of MLP. So you're still interested in making art, like for well, at least inspired by the show. That's interesting.
I mean, yeah, I had a lot of friends here, you know, and it was fun, and the content people made back then was still very interesting. People still try to do new things with it and stuff like that. I won't get into it too much, but I feel like if it weren't for the fact that I got probably kind of have my own community now, and you know, people kind of hovering around me all the time, asking me this and this and that, I probably quit a long time ago. Because nowadays it's like we're just becoming the furry community 2.0. I feel like
Right.
it's
Okay.
like now it's purely driven by other people's desire to have porn of it and have their
It's
own
a-
OCs done up and everything. There's like you go on fucking Derpy Brew and there's like 7 whole panels with just YCH type of auctions going on, and it's kind of sad. You know, it's kind of sad that you don't get the people that like want to put a new twist on a storyline, or they want to like make a different type of, you know, like just make a weird version of a character, you know. You
Yeah.
had like stuff like somebody made an ask log called Dead Rainbow Dash one time. Yeah, it was Rainbow Dash, like Frankenstein Rainbow Dash, after she had been like killed by Pink Mina.
As
in that
like an
fanfic,
offshoot
yeah.
of the cupcake sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and that was fun. Like oh, there's this thing, and there's like what's it? What was it called again? I mean, uh, what is it called?
On the tip of your tongue.
Yeah, it's on the tip of my, but it's like there was like one rarity, sadistic rarity. That's the one.
I think I know. Is it J something or other? I'm trying to
No,
remember.
no.
Was it a
That's
different one?
the Fluorescent Moo was the one who had sadistic rarity, I think. And Little Miss Rarity, that's Little Miss J.
That's the one I'm thinking of. That's it.
Yeah, and I think they interacted a bit, like a multiverse kind of thing, like a crossover kind of event sometimes.
Like from story wise sort of thing.
Yeah, and it was just interesting to see what kind of different alternate realities people could dream up with it. And I mean, it still happens from time to time, but in a lesser degree and with a lot less magic, because Tumblr's gone, and we don't really have a good platform to do this kind of stuff.
A lot's
on.
happened in 10 years, isn't it? It's like when
Yeah.
it's frightening looking all that on the back on all that, isn't it? Like how things have sort of shifted in the sort of not just the fandom itself, but like where the outlets where you upload the art and stuff. And I don't really know if the brony fandom itself, if you can call, if you want to call it that, I suppose, like is as strong as it was, or maybe some people have moved on to different things. That's why I guess the balance has changed. I suppose I can't really comment on that. Again, I'm sort of late to the game, as I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely attest to the fact that the fandom is a lot smaller now than it was in its heyday. But then again, after certain events have transpired throughout the years, people have of course left with bitter feelings.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So I don't know. The thing is so funny because like there's a tag on Derpy Buru that I really love a lot, and it's called Barely Pony Related.
Right.
And I just find that so funny that there's a tag called Barely Pony Related on a site called Derpy Buru, basically, which is supposed to be purely pony, and that's simply because the people that are making content for this fandom can't really keep up making just pony content.
I've lost the
because,
momentum, I suppose.
Yeah, because like one reason people cite a lot is because, you know, the show was stopped a long time ago, and there's no fresh content to work off of, and I think that's true to some extent, but I also think it's stupid because, you know, this fandom made up so many things just from scratch, and people started loving it, like the button mash character that guy made one time. I forget his name.
It was like Animations, yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know, and so it's like, I think it's like, it's more the fact that people aren't as much willing to explore new concepts nowadays than there's not will to make new ones. So, you know, if people try to do new stuff, it doesn't get as much attention, and then people get demotivated.
No, that's true, yeah.
Because people are, again, you know, we are becoming the furry fandom 2.0, and people have one thing on their minds a lot of the time, at least the general user base.
Pivoted over to adult content. We'll get to that. I think we'll cover that a little bit later. But do you generally, are you of the opinion that even though there's like less art and less concepts being uploaded, I suppose, as the quality of art declined, or has it improved over the years in terms of what people are actually still making?
If we're talking like purely like aesthetically and
just in general,
technique,
I guess. Yeah.
I think the content's quality has declined, yeah, but the production value has gone up. You know, so like people are better at making content now, but the actual like how interesting the content has gone down quite a lot.
Right. Yeah. Less weird and out there stuff that's interesting, I guess.
Yeah, it's more like, I hate to use the term cookie cutter, but it kind of feels like that, you know.
Right.
You'll go to there's a new and upcoming artist that's becoming popular, and you look at their stuff, and it's more or less what you'd expect there to be. You know, there's not like they don't have any like,
sort of thing.
Yeah, you got like you got the cute pictures, and you got the ones where they're like got like 16 dicks in their mouth, you know, and there's the over the shoulder picture, there's some, and it's like, come on, do something interesting.
Yeah.
But like I don't even to rag on, like, some artists don't want to make anything that's dark or interesting. Like, I mean, some people don't have the creative drive, you know. It comes down to the term of, you know, are you a corporate artist or not? And
right,
that's that kind of a dirty word, but I don't mean it in a bad way, because like corporate artists, as it's called, you know, the people that make art specifically to cater to people's desires and wants, are needed. They're very important, I think, but they often get a rough rep from people that like want to make quote unquote cooler stuff, things that are more like personal to the artists themselves, which is my brand of artist, you know. That's me. But
you like the more interesting. You don't tend to go for the stuff that's the most popular necessarily. You like the more interesting.
Yeah, like I love when I can
known stuff.
Yeah, I love when I can find some weird kooky ass dude that lives in like Bulgaria or something and just draws tree hugger getting stoned or something, or or just like I don't know who I can't remember the name of the artist now because they stopped drawing for such a long time ago, but Greenwild, that's their name. They just drew tree hugger and Maud getting stoned in the backdrops of like actual pictures of Russian villages.
Oh, that's interesting niche.
Yeah, and like that I thought that was so fucking cool.
Yeah,
I loved it. So I like watched them like with a hawk eye. I got like looked at every single picture, but then again it's like, Sheena drew an ass again. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
you know. But like, where the hell is Maud and Tree Hugger now? That's what I want to know.
Like it was left on a cliffhanger. You want to know what happens next?
Yeah, I want to know. And I just like something that, but like I get it. I get that people don't understand why I find that so interesting. It's like, I want to know what possessed you to make this. Like another
they were stoned themselves. That's how they come up with it.
Yeah,
you know? It's like self-referential.
Yeah. Another artist I love is Applebeans. He draws these horrid fucking abominations of the original cast of My Little Pony.
Yeah.
and they look like something that could be in like a creepypasta, like a ROM hack of My Little Pony Nintendo DS or something.
Yeah.
And everyone hates them on Derpy Brewer. They're like downvoted into like -200.
Yeah.
But you can also see how many favorites they got. So there's people that like them.
There's some weird stuff going on with the upvote system on that site, isn't there? You know, I think you've mentioned this before.
I mean, like I've always said, rule number 0 is kind of contradictory to the downvote system.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how Derpy Brew mods kind of really justify that, but I kind of understand why they have it too. It's they tried to remove it once, and people got upset. So I guess that's why they're keeping it.
It's a bit of a. It's sort of it's like it's not the best. It's unfortunately like it's probably the most popular site for MLP stuff, but like it's sort of the stuff that gets noticed the most is like it's. I wouldn't say cookie cutter because there's still some really amazing stuff that gets like upvoted to the top. Don't get me wrong on that, but it's more.
It's conventional.
Thank you, conventional stuff. That's the word I was looking. It's the stuff that you expect to be popular. It's like the nudes. It's the just like 2 or 3 characters like looking like at the camera like with no clothes on and stuff. It's that sort of stuff that gets upvoted all the time. It's nudity is great. I've made some pictures of course like that, but it's the stuff that it's like it's there's nothing much else going on there. It's just like titillation. That's all it is.
It's a telling feature that people they need an intro to some content to enjoy it, you know. So they understand these characters I know, and they're naked and they're sexy. I get it, you know. But if there's something that kind of like is a little bit out there and you need to sit down and like process it, people don't do it. Like
yeah.
And I think I mentioned this earlier. It's the fact which I find fucking hilarious about Derpy Burrow is the staff pick of the week or a month or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's always a pretty like either very well done picture that's very beautiful, very serene. You know, people spend a lot of time on this. It's like sometimes it's like a very beautiful painting of like Celestia in a waterfall with a lot of flowers around her and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's no nudity. It's actually a very beautiful art.
Very tasteful piece.
Or it's just something that's like drop dead adorable, you know.
Yeah.
And then you turn off your filter and go to the top scoring pictures, and it's nothing but naked bodies and horse cocks.
It's like there's one image that they put on the front, and there's like the real most popular image, I guess. Like you have to like turn the filter on to see it, basically.
It reminds me of all the fucking just like go on YouTube and just watch like furry into you cringe or whatever, and then it's like some furry that's like standing there with a microphone in their face and it's just like we do not fuck animals. We do not.
I know exactly what you. There's like a dragon with like his arms folded. Now here's Martin spouts politics about 15 minutes. It gets downvoted.
Yeah,
I'm
gonna set the record straight, motherfucker.
Exactly, I know what you mean. Exactly, I know what you mean. Oh,
I just feel the same energy coming from that.
It's just a shame that the more interesting, because of the way the site is, I suppose. It's I'm not slagging it off. I'm trying to slag it off too much. I upload there myself, of course, but it's because of what's happened, and like it's still like the only real place that like people get noticed. Despite its problem, like because a lot of the other sites like there's issues like with less freedom to upload what you want, but it's one of those things.
Yeah, in full disclosure, I'm part of the problem myself. You can probably go to my Derpy Burrow account and just look at my favorites.
You're adding to the pile of smut yourself.
I only upload smut basically to Derpy Brewer. That's like the only thing I upload there because, you know, cynicism in a way that I know that this is the only thing that, you know, gets noticed here. So I'm not going to bother uploading anything else.
Yeah.
But I'm also only giving attention to smut because that's the only thing that's actually coming up on my feed.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's like a double-edged sword in that way.
Yeah, I mean, like part of the problem myself, and I just want to come off as I'm complaining about something that we can actually do something about, because it has something to do with the way content is found nowadays on Derpy Brew, because like unless you happen to catch it on the like start screen,
Yeah.
you're not gonna find it basically.
Yeah.
Maybe if you like go and dig through a tag that you particularly like, you might get lucky and find something. But other than that, it's Twitter retweets, basically. That's how you can find shit. And you know how Twitter is with retweets.
The algorithm, it's the algorithm again, isn't it? Like, you're at the mercy of, like, the Twitter gods, like, decide to allow your tweet be seen. Half the time it doesn't, it just gets buried. That's the thing.
Oh, you retweeted something? Yeah, but, like, this other guy that this person follows has liked an image, so we're going to show that to him.
Show that instead, like, oh, thanks, Twitter.
Yeah, because the person that liked something that this other person followed has more followers than you that retweeted. So you know.
Yeah, it's not the it's really unfortunate that all the good stuff that you might be interesting to you, or when you're trying to reach people, it's very difficult. Sort of you really do have to search for stuff the more interesting. You have to really go out into the weeds, I suppose, and then find the more interesting stuff that's appealing to you. I think.
Yeah, I mean, people are trying to do stuff about it. There's a guy who runs. I don't know if it's just one guy, but it might be a team of them. But they're actually called Canterlot Comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout outs to them, because they do a hell of a good job to try to sort of make a nexus site where all pony comics are sort of congregated. I don't know if they do Not Safe for Work comics, but they do everything in between. If they don't already do Not Safe for Work comics.
Yeah.
So, also, I think do not underestimate the power of Discord servers. They're actually very important, I think, for spreading this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's knowing get involved with people with similar tastes is a very good idea as well. Like, to get your work noticed, and also get involved with other people as well. Like that people people tend to pool resources as well, and signal boost each other's work and stuff, which is a very good idea as well.
Yeah,
it's just knowing where to look. I think that's the best thing, isn't it? And I guess the best thing you can do is to, if you're an artist yourself, like, spread yourself out as much as you can. I guess, like, put your art on multiple sites. I think that's always the best policy, even though it does take a lot longer. Where if possible, I think that's the best policy anyway.
You have to deal with the elongated posting schemes of DeviantArt and Derpy.
Yes.
So I got them paying to post stuff there, but it's probably a good idea in the long run.
Tags is the most annoying thing, like typing all the tags out each time, and like not every site's got their own different formatting, and they've got limitations. You have to like redo, and you have to have like different resolutions as well. For some sites have got restrictions like that as well, which is irritating. But
the worst thing I know is like when I finish tagging a lot of stuff on a fucking a Derpy Buru picture.
Yeah.
And I forgot to put the fucking the rating tag on, and then it like boots me back to the same page.
Yeah. Oh, that's happened to me. I hate that. I hate that. That is.
I feel like my blood curdles. I punched my dog. I don't have a dog.
Why couldn't you just leave me on the same? Why can't a little pop up saying you forgot? Like, you need to put like the rating tag on there instead of delete everything.
Yeah, now you need to go and find the file again.
No, fuck you. You got to put all the tags in again. Screw you. Spend another half hour doing it all again. Yeah, why not?
Well, it keeps the tags, at least for me, thankfully.
Yeah, but that's happened a few times for me. Oh man,
that's even worse.
That's awful. That's awful. That's happened a few times to me. I can totally relate to that. Oh man. Oh, but anyway. So I think let's move on to the next one. I think that what is your opinion the best aspect of being an artist then? What would you say is the best thing about like making art? Is it do you mainly do it for your own enjoyment, or do you mainly make art for other people, or is it a bit of both?
I think the main draw for making art for me is just to be able to express myself in a way that people get. It's what I'm lucky enough to be, at least, because like I can just make something really messed up and post it in my server, and people be like, "Hey, this is fucking cool." They're not gonna be like, "Did you do drugs when you made this?" Or or do you need to go to the psychiatric ward? Do you like stuff like that? I can avoid that at least, and I think that's the best part for myself. But it's also very rewarding to have the skills and to know people well enough that you can make something that they will love, and just for them, and just give them to them when they least expect it, and just see their reaction. That's also very rewarding. I really love doing that. So I'd say those two are probably the best things about being an artist. Yeah, and for someone like me, I have so many ideas all the time. So it's really important for me to have like some sort of creative outlet. Otherwise, I don't know, I start a religion or something. I don't know.
I like to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm halfway on my way to do that anyways, with the Latex religion meme in my server.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Like any time I draw a nun in Latex or something, there's one guy that says Latex religion twice, and then the rest follow. They're like chanting the Latex religion.
You're preaching to the choir there. Basically.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I have my own.
You do have a religion, basically.
Yeah, basically. Like
albeit a very small one. Yeah.
Yeah, a small one, but Jesus and his 12 disciples. Isn't that like the thing?
Very dedicated.
There's an art idea right there. Me in the middle. Who would betray me? I'll probably Claire. Who's
going to be Judas in the piece?
Yeah. It's going to be Judas.
That's going off on a tangent, but yeah, file that on like your to-do list. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, that's a potential after I do the other ridiculous ideas I have going on right now.
Do you keep like so if you got loads of ideas, do you keep them like in a Word document or something, or do you just spontaneously like draw? I'm going to draw that next and just go for it.
If they're very complicated ideas, I have to write them down. But most of the time, I just make a little doodle and just have them in my project folder. Just a really quick, simple, barely any lines. But it's like when I see that, I know what it is basically. And you name it something. So I'll probably be doing like Last Supper with my server.
Yeah.
Who is Judas or something like that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one to follow. That would be an interesting one to follow up with. I think for me, if people were to ask me, I suppose that what's the best thing about being that's a difficult one to answer. Really, I think because for me, I sort of fell into art by accident. I suppose that's the best.
Yeah, you talked about the.
Yeah, I'm sort of like a bit of an outlier in this thing. Like I didn't have like an artistic background like you do, like with starting off with film and all that stuff. I only basically started learning 3D artwork mainly is because of the strange circumstances of what 2020 fucking was. With all the COVID business start off. I was still at work, but like I was put on furlough. It's like a scheme over in the UK where I think like the government come up with like to keep people on the payroll, that they would pay 80% of the wages or something like that. So, but I was basically at home for 4 months. I was still on the payroll, getting a bit of money. I was okay, but I had nothing to do practically, and I was talking to Hunter, my friend. He not long commissioned. He did the commission for me. That Trixie and Starlight piece he did for me. And I was talking to him about like how he makes art and stuff. And he was talking about Blender and like that sort of piqued my interest. I never had like that. All that had not happened. I don't know whether I would be making art as I am now. It's sort of serendipity, I suppose. Like I had loads of time on my hands. I thought, I'll do some tutorials and see how I get on with that. Because I always wanted to add the idea of trying to make my own MLP art and stuff. But I never really had for a long time the not the motivation. But I always thought like I was too stupid to learn it. I guess I don't know whether you had that like, issues of self-doubt and stuff. Like I'm not good enough to really make art. Only clever people can make art. That sort of thing,
That's actually a kind of good thing that you brought up, because I have some advice to people that are starting out, and it's actually from like a Norwegian rap duo, and that was their the way they decided that they would make it is basically by going 100% macho ego and just be like, fuck it, I'm the best there ever is. I will be the best there ever is, and like disregard all forms of criticism, at least for a while, until you've gotten started. Right. And then you can look at your work critically. And I think that's a better start than being this guy that's like, oh, I'm not good enough, blah blah blah, for this and this and that, need a reason, as long as you're conscious about it, I think. So, and that's more or less what I did when I started film and stuff like that. I was like, I'm gonna be 10 times better than Quentin Tarantino. Obviously, that didn't work out.
Set the bar really high.
Yeah, just set the bar extremely high. Just think of yourself as a really, really awesome person, and then take a couple steps back once you've sort of matured a little bit from your own escapades and your own failures, most likely, just so you get started. And of course, it's like, I mean, creative stuff, it's everybody has their own special way of doing it, and some people work differently. For me, I have a problem with time. I don't have enough time to do everything I want to, which sounds like a really nice problem to have, but it's awful, actually. It's really awful.
You basically got like too many ideas, but you don't have enough time to put them down onto stylus, I suppose, but digital art, I suppose.
Yeah, it sounds like a dream to people that struggle with actually like just getting started, and getting to the tablet and starting to draw in itself is a challenge. It sounds amazing to have that problem, and I mean, I'm speaking from a point of privilege here probably, but I don't know if a lot of people would want this, because you can't ever relax with the way it works for me, because it's like whenever I'm doing something else that I'm enjoying, I'm like, oh, I got something to draw right now. Whenever I'm like out with my friends, I have this desire that I need to get back and do more work.
Yeah, so you basically, if you're not spending time making art, like you sort of feel guilty. Is that?
Yeah,
that
you feel like you're constantly wasting time when you're doing something else.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
Like if a bus is like particularly slow on my way home from work, I'm like, fuck.
I could be using this time to make my next piece.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, fuck, I could be drawing pony butts right now.
More constructive use of your time. Well, yeah, waiting for a bus. I hate waiting for buses, but yeah.
Yeah, so the self-doubt, it comes up quite often, honestly, whether or not I'm good enough to do this or that. But I always refer back to my older art when I get those feelings, and I can clearly see how I've improved. And that becomes the motivator in a way, because motivation is very important, but even more important is the drive, I think, the actual desire to make it, or I guess the driving force behind the motivation. Because like you can be motivated to do something, you can have the idea, but the energy and the like necessary guts to try it out,
not be afraid to fail, I guess.
That's the really important one, I think, because motivation is like, I mean, your motivation, what is my motivation is that I want to make things that people find interesting, or nice to look at. So I want to tell stories, and I want to make stuff that people look at and go, wow, or that's hot, or that's nice, or whatever. That's my motivation. But the actual energy behind it, and the fact that I have to actually do it, that's more where I struggle, and that thing and my time have to align. So that's the
So do you ever compare your own art to like other artists and think like you get sort of, oh, I wish I was good as they are? Do you ever get those sort of feelings, like comparing your art to other people's and thinking like, I wish I was good as them?
Yeah, of course. I think that's a fairly common issue a lot of people have, and it's kind of it happens once or twice. It's but other than that, it's like it's kind of like having a toxic relationship with yourself if you do it. I think it's something you really ought to avoid. It's
a very difficult thing to overcome, especially I certainly have that problem. Like again, it's leading to, because I didn't have that like artistic background to really delve into or like reference to. Sort of, I'm had to like learn literally everything from scratch, like because I'm a 3D artist. I use that term very loosely. I'm a 3D artist in inverted commas. I will say that. It's like a 3D artist in training, I suppose. I guess it's sort of having to learn everything on the go, and like when I actually finish something, I'll look at somebody else and think, oh, I wish I was good as they were, or what. I struggle with that an awful lot. But I don't really know how to really overcome that. It's sort of like, I guess, perseverance, I suppose, and try to ignore the self-doubt. Again, it's very difficult to do.
It's it becomes like what it's said in Rocky. It doesn't matter how hard you can hit; it's how hard you can get hit and still get back up. That's what leads you to becoming better. I think is that how many times can you fail and still want to try again with art? I think that becomes that's the deciding factor whether or not somebody becomes good or not. Some people have talents, some people get it very easily, but some don't. And for the people that don't, they have to be able to stomach all those failures in order to get to the same level. And I mean, that's just how it is, unfortunately. And I think complaining about it and comparing yourself to other people that might have had a easier time doing it than you is counterproductive. It's not what you want to do. Yeah, you have to look. You have to look inward towards yourself if you want to get better. You can't look at other people.
It's I think it does take a lot of self-discipline as well. Like it's sort of with me as well, because I'm trying, like, every now and then because I want to like try and improve using Blender. Of course, I have to. While I'm making a new piece of art, I'll try and like learn something new if possible. And in between those, when I've actually finished a piece, I'll try and do an extra tutorial just to learn something new with the software and like improve that way. It does take a lot of self-discipline in that way, I suppose. Like, try to keep pushing and keep trying to improve. And even though it might not feel like it a lot of the time, but you actually are when you actually look at your older stuff. Oh, I actually have gotten a bit better. You know?
I mean, it's always a good idea to get good at one thing, just like work on something that you find interesting and get decently good at it to the point you're comfortable making it. And then whenever you sit down to make something new again, you start with something you're not good at. And you work with that for a while. And once you've ripped out some of your hair and you got an inch annoying, you're banging your head against the wall, just do the thing you're good at it again, Because then you get the feeling of making something, but you've also progressed. You don't end up going to bed thinking I'm a fucking failure, I can't do anything. At least you've made something. You made something that you like, that actually ended up decent. And that's usually what I do. That's what I do right now when I'm learning to draw humans. I start off my drawing sessions with drawing some humans, and then I draw something else, ponies or something like that. Is it like
90% ponies, like 10% humans? Is that sort of ratio you're going with? Is it? Or...
I mean, when I'm posting right now, that's what it looks like. Yeah, but it's more like 50-50 what I'm actually drawing.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So like a lot of it doesn't get posted for two reasons. One, they don't look that well, and I don't necessarily want to post them outside of my server. And secondly, it's not necessarily why people follow me to begin with. So it's kind of. Yeah, so when I do post something, I want it to be at least decent looking,
of a certain standard. Yeah.
Yeah. At least there's something there that they can appreciate. And so I recently posted some sketches that I did of the character from Borderlands, Mose, and I put her in a latex suit. They'll like that.
Of course, of course, it has to be done.
Yeah, exactly. I just need to like spoon fit it with something that they like.
You have to sugarcoat it somehow.
Yeah, it's like,
or latex
like,
coat, I should say.
This isn't pony. We was just wearing latex. Okay, fine.
We both like latex, do you know? You guys must know this by now.
I don't think anyone has listened this far without, they're waiting for us to talk about latex.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll get to that in a bit. I think. But is there anything that you struggle with in particular with art that you struggle with, like anything that you? From a technical perspective that you struggle with and you want to improve on? Mine's lighting. I hate lighting in Blender. I hate it. I still hate doing it. I'm struggling with that. Yeah.
I do. It's like a two-pronged problem. It's the fact that I want to have this very rough and edgy style, but I also want to become better and more clear in my lines. And so it's like a razor's edge. Just you have to walk through there, because like if you look at the comic, things change. Things are very smooth, but they don't have the same personality that my other art does, But then again, the reason why I don't use my normal style for things change is because it's it doesn't fit the theme, and it's counterproductive towards the nature of making comics. A lot of things can go wrong with my normal style, and like when there's something that's you've made that's like drenched in personality and emotion, some color being outside of the lines or something like that, it more or less just adds to the feeling. But when you're making a comic where things are supposed to be easily read and just clear, like not confusing, then it doesn't work. So I think line art is probably the thing I want to improve the most on. So the things change is like becoming sort of the natural way I try to improve on it. And just by reading through my comic, I think you can see that I'm getting better and better as I move on with it.
Yeah, the compositions definitely are more together, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, and also like it's funny, like I had some flashback scenes recently where I used my normal style, which again worked very well again, which I was pretty happy with. That I could just, that's I kind of got the taste of what I really wanted. I want to be able to do both, basically. I want to have the smooth and clear lines, and then be able to use this rougher and edgy and crazy style for effect in some cases, and that's I think it'll work out very well when I figure it out.
Yeah, just keep, I guess, like if you keep practicing it, like practice makes perfect, as the phrase goes. I don't know whether I entirely believe that, but I understand the sentiment behind it anyway.
Yeah, you do one thing enough and you'll eventually learn it. I doubt you'll ever be perfect.
Yeah, that's the thing I have issue.
But also,
I don't think anyone's perfect. Really.
I think perfect is boring. It's like perfect would be like sterile and just devoid of
no imperfections. Anyway.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, art is made by humans. We're 7 billion. What are we? How many people are on Earth? I don't fucking know. But there's at least 7 something number of a bunch of imperfect creatures. Something like that. 7 billion imperfect creatures, and none of us are capable of making anything that's perfect. And that's just how it is. And so, I don't know. If perfection is the measure of things that are good, then there's like this perfectly round sphere of titanium or something in France that determines how heavy a kilogram is. Then that's the height of art, and how it's the basis of the metric system, and it's perfectly spherical, or at least
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
And then I mean, if perfection is what we're all striving for, then we should all stop, because that's it there. That's probably the most perfect thing anyone can.
We should all give up and do something else now. It's done. Perfection is complete. We've got the perfect sphere.
Yeah, go to work.
We've completed it. We've done 100%. Got all the trophies. Done.
Yeah.
Don't need to do anything else. Oh man, it's just one of those things, isn't it? Like, it's sort of, one can be overly critical of one's art. I suppose I'm critical of a lot of my own stuff. Like, I look at my old bits and pieces, and like I think, oh, that's so jank, or that's so terrible. But it's sort of, the more you put the practice in, the better you do get at it. I think I'm definitely, like, for me, I struggled. Posing characters is a difficult one. I used to struggle with that. It's still difficult, but like, now I've done a few pieces, I've looked at how really mundane things, like how characters like interact with furniture or hold objects and things. It's just one of the many aspects like I sort of pay a lot more attention to now, and that only comes from doing stuff again and again and again, and like reiterating and improving. I think that's one of the best advice I can give to people. Just try not to be too self-critical, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, be critical, but don't be unfair to yourself. That's kind of the sentiment. It's like, you should always try to view your artwork with some sort of critical lens. I think a little bit goes a long way.
Your art is shit.
It shouldn't be in your own brain, like, oh,
thanks, Derpy Brew.
Is that fucking anime, you goddamn weeb? like he's be the, like your almost useless critic, this character looks like this and that, and oh, you're just copying this and this person's style, blah blah blah. That's kind of stuff is kind of useless to you. But I think you should always, when you finish something that you really worked hard on, you should be proud of it for a while, and then go back to it maybe a couple of days later and look at it and just kind of just note down what do you think you could have done better, and still enjoy your art, but take that with you further, because I mean the goal here is to improve, right? So just just note down what you think you can do better next time, or at least be more.
Do you ever get like do you ever get like the George Lucas thing where you want to like remake everything you've done in the past? Do you ever get that sort of, oh, I don't like that piece, I'm going to like remake it, redo it, and like redraw it or whatever?
Sort of, but there's a comic that I made a while ago, and the reason why I've stopped making it, I got to 80 pages, and I just like, you know what, this story is really good, but it was only good in my head, and when I put it on this comic, it doesn't work because I didn't plan ahead enough, because we're supposed to have this straight line of stuff that happens, and in the transitions between places we will have flashbacks with character story, but I ended up kind of messing that up basically, and now it's not so clear to everyone why the things that happened did happen in the flashbacks, because I just sort of assumed that people would understand, but they don't. Apparently the story is captivating enough as it is, because people are screaming at me to continue it, but I'm probably going to redo it. So
that's a lot of pages to redo. 80 pages to redo.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, those 80 pages could probably be 50.
Like condense them down.
Yeah, and just because I was still thinking very like filmography wise when I was making it, and that doesn't really work that well for comics, at least from a labor intensive perspective. So kind of need to condense some things down, make it a little bit more snappy and interesting, because like some of the sequences were just way too long, and the writing could have been a lot better. Like the conversations between the characters and stuff like that, and there's some jokes there that I kind of wish I didn't do, because it was more of a I couldn't help myself, more so than that shouldn't have been in there. But yeah, it's a bunch of like Chekhov's guns that I've set off right now, and I don't think I will be able to make them all go off.
Tie all those loose ends.
Yeah, I can't make them all go off within the short span of what's left of that comic's current state. I think I projected something like 120 pages, so we don't have a lot more to go on. There's like 40 pages where a lot of things are going to happen, and I don't think it's going to work out.
So are you actually going to redo it then, or are you just still deciding what to do with it?
I'm still deciding, because it basically, all of this it was sort of like an intro to a different story. So things need to line up really well in this intro, and then the story that follows is going to be with less characters and have a more character-driven narrative. It's going to be less about the world around them and more about a particular character's grueling journey to a redemption of sorts. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's quite more gruesome.
That is quite a massive undertaking if you do decide to follow through with it. But if I think you're capable of doing it, the amount of art that you manage to make, you make a lot of art. So it's for you. I can't see that being a challenge, at least from a like drawing all the art and stuff like that. But it's just a case of, I think maybe more planning. I guess it's just a case of how you're gonna like shrink it down, I guess, and make it more efficient, I guess.
Yeah, and it's also the fact that there's a lot of stuff to cover in a very short time, because I don't think the comic needs to be longer than 60 pages, really. But I need to make sure that it stays the same comic, but within the shorter time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, totally understand that. Um, so what would you say is like we covered the positives, of course, of being an artist. What would you say like is the worst thing of being about an artist? Are there any drawbacks that of being an artist that you wish you didn't really come across or didn't have to deal with?
we already mentioned the fact that time and the constant desire to make things is problematic when you aren't 16 years old anymore and you can't spend all the time you're supposed to use on homework on drawing. But other than that, it's you get a lot of positive attention, but you do get quite a lot of negative attention too, I suppose. At least when you get over a certain amount of followers, or if you draw something that gets particularly noticed, I suppose.
Let's expand it a little bit more then. So is this more of an issue in relation to artists who mainly specialise in adult artwork, or is that more of a general sort of thing, like negative things happen?
I think adult-oriented artists did get a lot more crap than their safer work counterparts. Or at least, I mean, maybe not necessarily just adult artwork, but people that just deal with themes that are not vanilla, I suppose you could say, or wholesome in a way. So there's people that straight up just draw violence, and a lot of like violence heavy stuff, and maybe they want to do some political commentary, stuff like that. All in which are things that are going to land you in trouble, but sometimes unproportionately so. But in my case, the times that I have done it, it hasn't really been picked up. Maybe I'm not good enough to actually make the point clear enough. Maybe it's an issue people don't really care about that I just care about. It's probably the people that did the adult-oriented stuff that gets most shit on Twitter, at least. I think just today, actually, or a couple of days ago, I don't know if you've seen that the new hit show on Netflix called Squid Game.
Yes, that's a lot of people are talking about that.
Yeah, there's like this doll in the first episode that does the red light, green light stuff, which is like it is modeled after a child, I'm assuming. And somebody basically aged her up and drew porn of her.
God, there's oh my god.
Yeah, there's Rule 34 on that one. No, I'm not kidding. It's actually really big.
God's sake.
And like, I saw that. I was like, that's kind of funny. But fucking Twitter just had a field day.
Humanity's finished.
Yeah.
Game over. Forget it.
The podcast is over.
Just stop recording now. Forget it. Done. I'm out.
But like some people, I don't know how you feel about it, but personally, I think it's funny. I think it's stupid. Like I don't feel any moral outrage.
It's fun. It's just like why?
What possessed you? Why did you do this? What possessed you?
The logistics of it. Like what possessed you to? Oh, I don't know. That'd be great porn of that. Other than just to fulfill that rule, like Rule 34. That's the one I was thinking. I couldn't think. What's the other one? Rule 69. What's the other? Is that
Rule 63 is the one where you gender bend characters.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, I couldn't think. Yeah, I couldn't think of what number it was. But yeah, it's sort of like other than to fulfill that rule, like there's got to be if it exists, there's porn of it. That's the age-old joke,
the visage of that doll. When you look at it with the two like tiny guards on each side, it kind of fuels the size difference fetish a lot of people have. And that was basically what the porn that was drawn is sort of angle was. So it's sort of like unintentional from the show creators, I think. But that I think just the large female character and the two small male ones, I think that's what's mainly to blame here. I don't think the artist has a thing for giant girl statues. I just think
I think it's probably just to like deliberately place there just to attract attention to the show, and like I think that's partly why of it probably.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing about Twitter. They always assume the worst about people.
Yeah, it's
like,
just to start something, I guess. You know, it's Twitter's like that. It's sort of like a massive echo chamber in a way. Like a lot of the time, it's sort of whether it's for ill or will, it's just a lot of it's just noise. It's just from my view, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Chinese whispers, basically. Like, people quote retweet everything, and they call this and this person a pedophile, and all of a sudden people believe it. You know.
Any horror stories regarding being an artist? Any horror stories you want to? I've got a few myself, but I don't know whether they compare to anything that you've got. Maybe like.
I have gotten yelled at quite a few times by random users about my fetishizing of nuns.
Yeah.
Yeah. People have been, strangely enough, following me for a very long time, and then when I started drawing porn of nuns, all of a sudden they got very morally outraged. I mean, at that point, I've drawn rape, murder, you know, like snuff porn. Had drawn necrophilia at that point. But for some reason, when I started fetishizing nuns, that was it. That's when God said no.
All that stuff beforehand was fine, but then all of it's very strange, isn't it? Like where people's priorities are. It's really strange. People should be allowed to like criticize what they want. But it's sort of, I don't know. It's sort of, people have got like different standards of what they find outrageous. I suppose it's sort of difficult to gauge that a lot of the time.
I actually have a very interesting story about that.
Yeah,
there was this. I forget his name. It was like Evil Celestia or Dark Celestia, something to that effect. Knew him, or at least knew common friends of him. What's it called? Mutual friends. Mutual friends of him, and they were kind of around my sphere. And they would draw all kinds of different kinds of things. It wasn't particularly good art. It was like MS Paint shit. It was, but it was to the effect of like. I think Fearing Fun is the guy who made the infamous Luna getting decapitated by a guillotine while being fucked by a royal guard or something.
I might have seen that. I'll have to double check.
It's very infamous. I think it's quite easily found. It was like one of the first
big controversies.
Yeah, big controversies of the pony fandom, at least that I can remember, and. He would retweet that and talk about how hot it was, you know. And then there was this one anime that came out with a girl with an eye patch, like she had like this eye patch on her and she couldn't see, and she occasionally would bleed out of her eye socket. And this guy was livid when that came out. He was morally outraged about this girl. Why would people find somebody who has a non-functioning eye that bleeds hot? That is disgusting. That's like, he went up on this long tirade. It was like 6 posts deep, you know, and like he complained about it in multiple days, maybe even a week. And I'm like, dude, where's your priorities at? How is how is having an eye without an eyeball in it more disgusting than fucking somebody who's just recently been decapitated?
It's strange, isn't it? I don't understand the. It's like the priorities are just not there. It seems very odd to me, and it's not like he was forced to look at the image. He didn't have to look at it.
No, he did not.
You have to search for it out as well. You can filter all that stuff out if you don't like it as well.
There's probably somebody who retweeted it or something like that.
Of course, aside from that, yeah.
Something like that, but I mean, still, Xkit extension was a thing back then. It was still working, so you could have just tagged stuff out. Like, if you don't like anime, just take anime away. Any post that has anime in it won't show up on your feed. So it's like, I don't know. It's strange how people react to stuff like that.
Of course, there's some things I find deplorable and whatever, but I don't have to scout that stuff out. I can always filter it out if I don't want it.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also a sort of like there's almost like it should be like a user agreement whenever you open up Firefox or Chrome or something. It's the fact that when you're browsing the internet, literally anyone can make you look at anything. If you're here and you're looking and you're scrolling, something might pop up that you don't like, and that's okay. It's okay to not like things, but it's not everybody else's responsibility to make sure that the internet's safe for you.
Yeah.
You have to deal with that. That's your thing.
It's just one of those. It's just it's one of those things. It's just very strange to me. It's just sort of it's impossible to please everybody, I suppose. But everybody likes to think that everything can go their way. I suppose it's one of those things. I suppose. Have you ever had people asking you for free stuff or demanding artwork off you? That's something like that. That's that sort of thing.
I had a guy that had a very big problem with me not drawing porn of his OC and one of my OCs on Tumblr back in the day. Remarkably strange person, actually. But he would continuously draw himself, his character. He would like literally carve the name of my character into his chest with a heart and stuff like that in the chest of his character. And he would continuously do stuff like that, and he would also draw my character completely misrepresented, mind you. He had gotten the wrong idea about the character a lot. It kind of viewed her as some sort of crazed, murderous lunatic, which in the early artwork, sure, she was. But I've had that character for almost like 1 or 2 years at that point. She had developed, she had become something else, something, I think a lot of my characters have started out as something and then gradually become something else. So it's that one, and that got a little bit nasty because the guy started to send me money on my PayPal, sort of ordering me to draw certain things for him.
Yeah.
And I would just refund it, and then he would get extra angry and just send money regardless. And it's sort of like a forced commission almost, like so that happens sometimes to some people. That wasn't exactly what he was doing, but it was he wanted to do that, but I guess he wasn't aware of it. But where people just send money to you and demand you draw this thing, despite it being well outside of the commissions you're actually taking, or let alone if you're even open for commissions. But then he also started to send me pictures of his own razor blades and his wrists bleeding and stuff like that.
It's sort of it's already gone way too far at that point.
Yeah, and I luckily found out that those pictures were fake. At least the pictures of the bleeding wrists were fake because I was able to find them on Google image search. But the razor blades were most likely real. So he obviously had some problems.
Yeah.
There was also, from one thing to another, there was also a person that, more or less, an artist that was a lot better than me, wanted to collaborate a lot back in the day. And then all of a sudden, a couple of months have passed, and they start to turn it around against you. It's that, that I hadn't been contributing that well to the collaborations that well, and would then sort of make me feel bad for being worse than them.
Yeah.
And block me. And at the time I was very young, so I was like, oh shit, that was my ticket to get internet fame, blah blah blah, and I was pretty upset about that. But I think those are the main horror stories I have. There's more, but that's the ones I can talk about on a podcast at least.
Yeah.
Some things are just it's not worth to talk about.
I don't have anything to that extent myself, but I've had people in the past basically try to be manipulative, not to that extent again, but manipulative in the such of pleading poverty and all that stuff to sort of emotionally blackmail you to make me make artwork for them and stuff like that, or just get money off them and stuff like that. Sort of, I don't know whether I can't speak for everyone, but I guess everyone I sort of after a certain point is once you get to a certain point as an artist, you will come across similar problems to different extents, of course. But
people that try to shake down your commission prices too. That's something that happens fairly frequently.
Yeah,
Some guy once tried to ask me for a full rendered picture of 2 characters for $9, when the asking price is $60, $70.
I'll give you $3.
Hey mate, I got
Oi, mate.
I got you £3, and I don't fucking know what British word for some candy is. Hey, I got you £3 in a pack
polo mint.
Polo mint.
All right, Guff.
Got a packet of lifesavers for you, mate.
It's pretty good. I'll give you that. I'll go give you £5, mate. I want a full 3D render, 4K, please.
You fucking sound like grade A underage.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm frightened of taking commissions for that reason. I don't want to deal with that bullshit right now. I don't think I'll be able to cope with it. And I don't think my art is that good enough to warrant commissions. But anyway, that's another issue entirely. But that's quite a common thing. Like, I think that's another issue. I think artists should be able to set what prices they want. You might not agree with them, but it's there, right? They've set a price for it. You take it or leave it. I think that's the best policy. I think.
I mean, I do have my own job, and my commission prices are based on that the hourly pay I get from that job, and it basically is the fact that my full render asking prices, that's about 2 hours of work for me, but I spend more or less 4 hours on the picture itself. So the way I see it, I'm actually giving a pretty good deal. But also, the problem is that I can't ask for anything less than that, because like I said, time is valuable to me.
It's not like a lot of people don't seem to, not everybody, it's like some people just don't understand, like these things take hours of our time to put together, and like we don't do them in like 5 seconds.
Oh my god, dude.
Unless it's one of them stupid NFT things some pricks generated on a machine.
Oh, those fucking disgusting.
I hate those.
I hate those ugly lions.
What kind of pyramid scheme bullshit is that?
Oh my god, I want to punch whoever made those in the dick. Jesus Christ. But yeah, like,
they're terrible as well. They're horrible. I don't understand it.
That's the thing I want to kind of comment on with the one of the negative things about being an artist is just the fact that some people just don't get it. They don't get how much time goes into something, and like you might have made something in an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. At least you made something and you like it, and then some fucking guy's like, "This looks like this one anime character." And that's all they have to say. To them, it might not even be an insult. It might actually be a compliment to them. But because their fucking comment is so brain dead, it comes off as just shit.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's so frustrating to get that little notification. Oh, you got a comment. I want to see what they have to say. And it's something you probably could have figured out yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like,
deep breath.
They're really frustrating. Really teamed it. Yeah.
Collectively, just go away.
Yeah. Can you spend your time more wisely? Can you understand that somebody here actually spent some time? I mean, it's pretty foreign to a lot of people, I think, with the amount of time actually goes into making some of these things. Luckily, I'm actually quite fortunate with my my commissioners and the people that at least read my comic, and that they understand that these things take time, and it's not always so easy to get time. At least with the life I'm living right now, with balancing work, school, artwork, and a private life and the social life even now, because COVID restrictions are up now, so now actually sometimes have to go and do social things again.
Yeah.
So it's a hard knock life.
It's a hard knock life for us. But yeah, it's man, I think everybody, like, if with commissions and stuff, I think it's sort of, it's, time is like an alien concept to a lot of people. They don't understand, like, a lot of these artworks take out literally hours of time to put them together. It's not something that you can put together in 5 minutes. I wish it was the case, but it's not. That's the reality is, and for people who actually make a living off just making artwork. Again, this is just for me. This is just a side thing I do. This is my fault. I don't make any money off my art anyway. Well, at least at the moment anyway. So for people who have no choice to charge for hourly rates for commissions and stuff, I real feel for them people who say you're too expensive, and you do see that a lot. But again, if it's too expensive, then don't buy it. Then it's that.
It's a luxury item. It's not a necessity.
It's not a necessity. Exactly, it's not a necessity. No, oh, for God's sake, put my teeth. Not a necessity. How many S's is in that? Not a necessity.
I'm not commenting on how many S's are a necessity.
I'm in a stroke there. Not a necessity.
Necessity.
Oh. It's like entertainment, isn't it? Basically, which I think you should pay a decent wage for, but people just don't have a concept of that, really, unfortunately, I think.
Here's an idea: if you don't have money and you want art, learn to draw.
Make your own shit. Make your own stuff.
Yeah. And if that's too much work for you, then maybe that's why it costs money.
Yeah, you figured it out then.
Yeah.
What art do you? Which I put my teeth in again. What program do you use to make art? Is it like Inkscape, or do you use something else?
Clip Studio Paint.
Clip Studio Paint.
Yeah, that's the one I use.
Is that is that similar to Inkscape? Is that like a vector-based program, or is that more like Photoshop sort of thing?
Yeah, it's sort of like a love child between Psy and Photoshop. It's
like
Photoshop,
a halfway house.
Yeah, it's something between there, and I find it strikes a very nice chord, with me at least. It's familiar enough from the times I work with Photoshop, but it also has the features and plugins all ready to go. That from Psy, except for I personally am of the opinion that Psy is a fucking terrible program and nobody should use it, but that's
right.
That's just me.
Don't use it, it's bollocks.
Yeah, it's bollocks, mate. Don't use it. Only people from Birmingham use Psy.
I can't comment on that. I still use MS Paint. I rock the MS Paint with 2D stuff.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you can use any art software that you feel comfortable with and work for you. The legendary Pink and Mean artist Crooked Trees did everything in GIMP, which is an even more bare bones version of Photoshop, basically. That looked amazing. So as long as you have the tool that you need to do the job, it's fine. I'm kind of tongue in cheek about saying that Psy is terrible and nobody should use it. Of course, people should use it if they want to. That's up to them. But for me personally, Clip Studio fills everything, and there's even a free software called Krita right now that you can basically customize to your heart's content with a bunch of plugins that are more or less crowdsourced.
And custom brushes and all that stuff. Yeah,
and the way the fucking program itself functions, you can essentially make Psy or Clip Studio Paint or Photoshop with it if you have the right plugins. But like I say, I don't have time for that. I can't build my own thing when I already have it installed. I bought this software for $10 when it was on sale, and it's served me well ever since 2016 when I did buy it. So I'm not going to move over to something that can do the same thing but is free, because it costs me time, and therefore it's not free, basically.
Yeah, so it's like you either spend money or more time learning something else, isn't it? It's a trade-off, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think some people can get an awful snooty about what art packages people tend to use. I really don't like that. Again, as I was saying, there's programs I don't like using. But I think when it comes to making art, I think it's sort of just use what you're comfortable with. In whatever. Whoever style that you wish to learn with, just use what you like. It's like some people get snooty about why are you using Blender? That's a piece of shit. Why don't you use Maya or something like that? And vice versa. There's a lot of snootiness especially in the 3D space. I find anyway. I don't know whether it's the same extent in 2D artwork, but definitely it is in 3D. A lot of people saying, it's a free program, therefore it's a piece of shit, or why use Maya and what have you, and you have to pay for it. There's all sorts of arguments on both sides, but my view is use whatever you're comfortable with, and And if something the software works for you, then great, then use that. You don't have to feel ashamed for using what you're comfortable with.
I think there's a lesser extent to the snootiness about 2D or graphic design programs, more so than the 3D thing. Because I feel like 3D artists, they're more like the science guys when it comes to art. They kind of look a lot of numbers, and, like, fucking SFM is a 32-bit program or whatever, and can only do so much and so much. You should definitely at least use Blender, blah, blah, blah. And so I guess there's some ideas there that could maybe hold some water, just the fact that certain software is limiting or something like that. Yeah. But from my experience working with a lot of different creative medias, limitations are sometimes a good thing.
Yes.
They force you to sort of become creative within the bounds that you're given. And that was demonstrated to us when we were in film school. We were always crying to have an assignment where we didn't have any rules, where we didn't have any restrictions. And then they gave us one assignment that was very restrictive, and the class generally did very well with it. We made a lot of interesting things and stuff that people didn't expect. And the next assignment, we got a completely no restrictions at all, and it sucked ass. It was one of the worst assignment I've ever gotten, and I hated it so much. And I learned a lot about how sometimes restrictions in art is a very good thing, and if they come about in a natural way and aren't prohibiting you from making stuff, it might actually be instrumental to making something interesting.
It's sort of, I think there's having limitations does help you, especially in the early stages, as it's sort of, I guess I don't know whether you've heard the Lego sort of metaphor before. You could be given say 30 bricks or something, or you can given every single known brick in the known universe. If you have all the bricks to play with, you just don't know what to make. But if you've got only a certain amount to play with to begin with, you find out what you can and cannot get away with, and it's sort of, you build up from there effectively, if you excuse the pun, of course. But it's sort of, it's one of the, I think it's you start off with limitations is a good thing, and then once you get better at a certain discipline within art, I suppose, you discard those limitations a bit by bit, and your art becomes better because of it.
Yeah, I mean, when you have 30 bricks, you can kind of see the patterns and, how it sits together and how they could potentially sit together. But you can't see how an ocean of Lego bricks will fit together. It's just noise to you. It's just so much. So, I mean, maybe the allegory, the analogy kind of falls apart if you're actually trying to make something with those bricks. But, you already know what you're making, so you're just kind of looking for them. But yeah,
or you just follow the manual for the instructions of whatever, build what it says on the thing. Do that instead.
Yeah, 10,000 Lego blocks, and there's supposed to be one thing. Oh my god.
I don't know how people build those things. Oh my god. This is going to take you 25 hours to put this together. Yeah. Across 24 months, 2 years. Oh man!
Oh, is it 16 years and up? No, that's how long it takes to make it.
You're not joking. Some of those sets are stupid, but anyway. But if I think if that makes sense, I suppose. But yes, so that's all the drawbacks and bits and pieces. So you've already covered motivation already earlier. So how exactly do you stay motivated when it comes to making artwork? Do you just, the idea of fulfilling all your ideas, is that enough of a motivation for you when you're making artwork?
Yeah, definitely. It's more or less the main driving factor. So I don't really struggle enough with motivation as compared to other artists, and I'm thankful for that. because the motivation part is kind of bad. I mean, there are days where I just kind of stare at my tablet and I'm like, I'd rather do something else, but they are few and far between, thankfully.
Because you're drawing something all the time usually, so
more or less.
I don't think motivation is much of an issue for you.
Like,
it is for some people, though.
Yeah, I think I had like just under 4.5 years of a draw streak where I drew something every 24 hours, every single day. Yeah, and I stopped because of what I thought was a heart attack, which turned out to be stress. Essentially, I got these insane pains over my chest, and I was like, fuck it, I'm dying. I drank too much Monster Energy, and now my heart's gonna explode. But that's not what happened. It's apparently I've just put myself under way too much stress, working 5 days a week, drawing every single day.
Maybe sort of trying to do too much at once.
Yeah, essentially, and on top of that, worrying about my own future because I didn't I didn't have an education I wanted or something like that. And then, I mean, now I'm working on that, and life has gotten a lot better since then. But it still comes with a few challenges, and so I've taken to a less comfortable lifestyle money wise now. So I'm making a lot less money because I'm working less, but I need to focus on my art and my education mainly. So the job comes as an afterthought. So yeah, but I mean, like, my art streak sort of ended there because I stopped counting it, but I kept going. Except for the fact that I didn't do it every 24 hours now. It's more like I have to at least draw 365 drawings each year. It's kind of the thing. So it's more like a metric or like a counting sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, to the effect, it's the same amount of training, but it allows me to take a weekend off, basically. So I can with some form of good conscience just not draw for a weekend and come back refreshed next week. But that usually doesn't happen because I come home from something social or something and sit down in the couch, watch some stuff with my girlfriend, and I drink a couple of beers, and then it's like, and I look to my girlfriend and I say, I just got this sick idea. And she just rolls her eyes, and then I go and draw it.
Off you go then. Off to draw whatever thing you've got planned today. Yeah, go on then.
Yeah, that's you, dumbass. Never have time for me.
Oh, dearie me. Motivation for different. I think a lot of people do struggle with like staying motivated. I think it's because like me and you in like a similar situation where we don't do this like as a main source of income. Like, I guess so like our work balance is a lot more healthier, I suppose, and like we make art for the fun of it, for self-fulfillment basically, I think so. But for people, I think some people who have to make art for a living, like burnout's a lot more prevalent, I suppose.
I suppose if making art is sort of the same kind of process as brushing your teeth every night, then it kind of becomes very grating after a while. But for me, it's like I love that I draw so much stupid things on top of pretty things, because I have like a mountain of stuff to look back on. And you know how you would scroll through your old photos and stuff like that on your phone, and you'd see memories, stuff like that. It works the same way. So I'm very happy that I'm able to draw this much, because I get to look back and be reminded of these other times that I've had.
A massive portfolio of stuff to look back on.
Yeah, and like, I mean, it all changes and it's all strange. It's a lot of stuff that I've done that I don't particularly understand why I did anymore, but it's fun to kind of see how you've developed over time.
Why you made that bit of art in a certain way, and like how things have changed.
Well, I mean, yeah, but there was also one period where I would have like my own Sona split up into 3 different characters, and then I don't know. It's like this one drawing where myself, they're just split up into my anger, my apathy, and my humanity, basically. So there's a nice one that doesn't give a shit, and one that's angry and always doing weird shit. And I don't know the context, but my angry self is saying, okay, apathy boy, let's start the rape machine. And then Jared Fogle comes out.
Right.
And I don't know why I made that, but I love it.
It's a really strange tangent to go on, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I don't know. This is what you get when you put me on your show. I'll just say weird stuff. It's like anyone will tell you that's been following my stuff for a relatively long time will say that, yeah, this guy's fucking
That's
weird.
your modus operandi.
Yeah. This guy's
Be
weird.
weird, tick. Yeah. Next question this is where it abruptly just stops on my Word document. You have 80 plus OCs. Why? I've written here. You have loads of OCs.
The characters are sort of like they happen because of a story that I'm making. That it's like a very expansive and long story that takes place on an Earth that's like twice the size of our Earth. So there's a lot of places. There's a lot of different places in time. So some characters live to be very old in my story because they're like supernatural. But, not all of them are supernatural characters that live forever. So you're going to need different people to different times. And you're going to need, and like some characters or story settings are entire cities, basically. And then you need enough characters to fill all the roles that a city needs. So that's one of the reasons why I have a lot of characters. The other reason is that I often don't like to just make very explicit porn of characters that are supposed to be in my stories, because I don't want the narrative to kind of be confusing for people that might not understand what my whole artist thing is, like what my art really is about. So like they might think that this character is a very slutty character, but in reality they aren't. I just thought they were hot and I wanted to make porn of them. So I end up making a character solely for the reason of making porn of them, and then I end up liking the character design too much. I write them a story, and we're back to square one, and I do the same thing over again. That's one of that's the other reason, and then probably the most dominant reason as to why. Keep
expanding upon the backstory and the lore.
Yeah, basically, it kind of like happens very naturally, and it becomes a problem.
And then you've got more characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's what you've got.
Yeah, most likely. I'm not as bad as Red X Bacon though. That woman is insane. She makes like 2 OCs every week or something.
Oh, I have 395,000 OCs.
She probably has like 200 or something now.
That's crazy.
She's gotta have like 200 OCs or something right now. She's at least busted 100. That's for sure.
There's not enough time to really delve into every single character. They're having way too many to look after, I suppose.
Yeah, so I'm like still waiting for we talked once and I was like, oh, I want you to draw this character, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'll draw her again because she's cool. And then I think they've made like 10 OCs since then, so I don't think I'll be seeing that character again.
For a while.
Yeah, at least for a while, until she remembers. All right, I talked about that.
Oh man, it's that's just crazy. Like thinking of that many characters. How do you keep track of them? All the stories? Do you just remember them all, or do you keep like a document with all the backstory and then all the lore for each character? Do you keep track of all that?
The thing about my stories is that everything is not set in stone, but I basically remember most of it, because everything is like very easily segmented into different times and eras, and they're all so different from each other that it's easy for me to keep track of in my mind, at least. And I have drawn a lot of concept art as well of it, so that also becomes very easy to control. Because I'm not really a guy that like puts down a lot of notes. I'm more of a visual kind of guy. So just drawing some basic concept arts for the story is enough for me to remember where they all go.
Like it's part of your creative process, I guess. I think like sort of just having like a massive having a load of characters to delve from gives you loads of leeway to experiment with different ideas as well.
Yeah,
which is good to have. Oh, right. So what else have we got? I think we've been recording for about just shy of 2 hours. This is crazy. This is a lengthy podcast. I've had a great time recording it thus far. I think we'll go to we had a couple of questions from your Discord, both from the same person, I think. I think we've talked about briefly already about commissions and stuff like that, but we've got one from Commissar Elusive. I think that's his name or their name. I suppose he's asking, is there any commissions that you want to talk about that you had to immediately turn down, and why? Other than, I think, that one you were talking about earlier. Was there any one that I think he's referring to, you found like you just didn't feel comfortable coming to fruition, I guess?
I mean, thankfully, none of those have actually like gone sour. There's a couple of ones I've turned down just simply because the characters are Nazis. And while I don't necessarily demonize anyone who wants to draw a Nazi character for whatever reason, as long as it's not like ideologically insensitive, I suppose, or historically inaccurate, a lot of ground to cover on that thing. But like, as long as it's just for the purpose of drawing a character, I don't really care about it. But personally, I just don't want to do it. I did draw it a couple of times, but that was when the character was getting scalped, like Inglourious Bastard style. So I figured, that would kind of be very clear about my emotions towards that particular brand of character. But I still think people should have the right and freedom to express themselves and just draw whatever they want. Just at least as long as they hold some respect to the history, I suppose.
Yeah.
Definitely. But the other stuff that I have denied before is stuff that involves characters that are very dear to me. Some characters I just make because of a meme. So it's like, oh, let's make a non-spacesuit girl, and so I made that, and then somebody commissioned me to have their OC fuck that character, and I'm like, okay, fine, because I don't really care that much about the space nun that much. It doesn't. One of the few characters that doesn't have a proper story connected to her. But there's a character called Purity Knight that somebody once commissioned or wanted to commission me a picture of with their OC fighting, but they had grossly interpreted the character as a bad guy, more or less, and that was just so wrong for me that I denied it immediately. It's like, no, sorry, it's not something I will do. But
you found it objectionable, based on the character.
Yeah, it's like it was just so wrong and would give the wrong idea about the character to begin with, and it maybe realized that the character was maybe written poorly if people were getting the vibe that they were a bad person. I really wanted to more inspire the sort of like an anti-hero that kind of makes you think they're a bad person, but really they're not. Or at least, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but none of those have been like bad experiences, really. I mean, I did deny the fucking $9 for a full render. That didn't go over so well with the guy.
What, $9 is a good price?
Yeah, you could buy yourself a bread and butter with that.
Is it just usually just British people speaking in that accent? I want a commission.
I mean, usually the people that are really stingy on fucking commission prices for whatever reason are German. I don't think that's something with the German people. I just think I've been really unlucky with the Germans that have contacted me. So
right.
I don't know if other people
I wonder
have
why that
experienced
is.
it.
Yeah.
But like that's also bullshit right now, because there's one German guy that I know that I've gotten to know like in the last week that like spends so much money on art. So I already debunked myself right there.
Right.
Right as rain. Like the guy has several like Baron Engel originals in his fucking.
I've
possession.
got several of his pieces. I've
Yeah.
got some of those. He's amazing.
It's amazing, and I mean, I don't. Those aren't cheap either, right?
No, they're not. They're not cheap.
Yeah.
I've got a few on my walls. I'll have to show you which ones I've got. But yeah, I've always wanted to get a commission off him. But like it's just like his waiting list is stupidly huge, and I just never got one in the end, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I love his pieces. Yeah, it's brilliant. I'll have to show you some of those. But yeah, that's another aside. But yeah, so again, I haven't taken any commissions myself, so I can't really answer that question. I'm thinking about it. Maybe if I make a few more pieces, I'll think about opening commissions. Maybe to some close friends first. I'll test the waters, but we'll see. We'll see.
Probably best to do it that way.
But we'll see on that one. The second question he sent across from the same guy, from Commissar once again. What type of music do you put on to get onto the mood to draw? That's a good question. What sort of mood music do you listen to when making artwork?
It depends on what I'm making most of the time, but if it's something very emotional, I will put on any range. Like it depends. That's basically the answer. It depends, but I can say some of my favorite music to draw to is Daughters. It's a very very strange band. You can Google images of them, and you can see that the vocalist always hits his head with the hits his head with the microphone in his forehead, so he has like a scar of the microphone in his forehead and stuff like that. They basically make these insane soundscapes with it's like drenched in like paranoia, schizophrenia stuff, and that's really good to listen to when I'm making something that's very like supposed to be scary, emotional, and dark. But I also really enjoy stuff like Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes. That's like a very high energy punk rock kind of thing. And can't not mention Slipknot, because that band also helps a lot with the energy and the rage stuff that often is involved. But most of the time I also just let my Spotify playlist play, and there's stuff there from like Breakbot and lots of funky and just pretty music. It's I'm not particularly like locked into one genre. I like a lot of stuff. For the longest time I thought I didn't like jazz, but I did end up finding a lot of jazz bands that I actually do like now. So I listen to most likely everything. It all just depends on what kind of mood I'm in.
But is it generally more the heavier stuff you tend to listen to while making?
Well, I mean, my favorite genre is stuff that's like just balls to walls, insane music.
Like thrash metal and all that.
Yeah. I mean, thrash metal is not really my favorite. I don't really know how thrash metal is definitely defined, but I'm assuming at least early Metallica was than the first album, and I think Slayer still is. And I mean, Slayer is like my grandmother's vacuum. It's been around since the 80s, and it's sucked ever since. Is that like the meme?
Oof. Okay.
I think that's it. Like, I mean, I don't really hate Slayer the same way some people do, but I don't particularly find their music interesting. But I do like some select Metallica songs. I think my favorite one is Unforgiven. It has a nice balance of the heavy with the calm and like beautiful area, and it kind of crescendos well together and just like makes these really nice contrast, like it's like audio texture basically. It's very nice. And some Iron Maiden stuff, but that's like the old stuff mostly, and I don't know, it's more modern stuff I like to listen to nowadays, like I mentioned, Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes, The Heavy. Listen to a bunch of hip hop too, like Run the Jewels. Death rocks. I mean, I will be here all day if I'm gonna sound up everything.
It's a separate podcast in itself.
Yeah, I read up the bands I listen to. I think there's like probably 500. There was 500 bands I listened to exclusively when I was like 19 years old, and I've been exploring and starting to listen to new ones almost every month or week since then. So yeah, it's a lot to cover. So I mean, if you really want to know what kind of music I listen to, then I recommend becoming my friend. So I'll let you into my private server. We have a channel where I just spam music I listen to in there. So
like a massive playlist.
Yeah, we call it Ghost Town Vivo.
Here's what I listen to. There we go. On the complete opposite with that, like with artwork, I generally don't tend to play music that often. But when I do, as I say, I don't know whether it's a case of I've like a sort of limited attention span, I guess. I don't know whether that's the correct term for it, but I generally tend to play no music because I can't do one and the other usually very well at the same time. Like if I'm making artwork, I don't put any music on, but I'd rather it's one or the other. I listen to music or I'm making artwork. I don't tend to do both, but if I do, the occasions I do, I tend to put like quiet music on, some like stuff like from old video games and stuff like really quietly, like The Sims, for example. That's got a lot of quiet piano jazz pieces in that. That's really good to listen to. Stuff that's quiet that doesn't demand a lot of attention. Like I have it on as a bit of ambient music. SimCity 4 and the rest of it. Quite a lot of games for like about 20 years ago. I put the soundtrack on and then I can manage with that. But like a lot of anything like more intense than that, I can't. I have to stop what I'm doing and just listen to the music. I can't do anything else because it demands too much from me. I guess. I don't know how if some people are the same as me, but that's the way I do it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I can relate to it when I'm making the text for my comics. I can't listen to music that has lyrics in it because I get too distracted by the words I'm trying to write and the words that are coming out of the vocalist's mouth. So I can kind of relate to that. But if I'm just drawing, then it's completely emotionally driven kind of thing, and the music helps usually. Yeah.
Like I just can't imagine like listening to like something really loud, like heavy metal or something, like drawing something. I just can't. It's like bawling down your ear holes, like all sorts of stuff.
You just kind of become one with it, man. Like it's like becomes a part of you in a way.
It's like Zen sort of.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it's like the drum beat go, and that's the same beat that you're going in. You know?
I can't. I just can't imagine doing that. Like I have to like that. If I were listening to that sort of thing, that's the only thing I could do at that point in time. I couldn't do anything else.
my soul always goes at like a 200 beats per minute pace, anyways. You know, so it's anything that's remotely fast is just gonna make it more happy.
Influences your art. That's the yeah.
Definitely, the music definitely influenced my art. Yeah, most definitely.
But yes, that is the end. I've got on my document. Unless there's anything else that you want to talk about briefly before we conclude, that is. Matt recorded a marathon.
I think there was another question that came in yesterday, but I don't think they were pretty relevant. Hold on, I can see if I can find it. Yeah, nah, never mind. It's probably not worth looking up. It was probably some question whether or not I preferred ass or tits or something. It's not something I'm gonna share.
Go on. Are you an ass man or are you a tit man?
Dude, I definitely enjoy the thighs more than either of those.
the inner thigh. You're a thigh man.
Yeah, thigh man. Yeah, definitely. Both of those are really good, but the thighs are the best.
And with that, I think we'll leave it at that, folks.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
think it's best we stop there.
I I think the exhaustion's getting in. We're just saying all sorts of stuff. Now we're going to get in trouble. Oh.
If anyone's ever going to listen to this, that is. If you've
Yeah,
made it
they
this
will.
far, you're insane, man.
You are a saint. Thank you for listening to both of us ramble for the last about 2 hours. That's crazy. But yeah, so thank you so much for listening, guys, and thank you, Tennis, for joining me on the show. You are welcome to join me on a future episode, whenever that will be. I don't know yet. I don't know who's going to be my next guest. I don't know. We'll have to see. So we'll see how this one performs, I guess. So this is the tester, I suppose. But thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Up to this point, goodbye.